College sport, enter at your own risk. An overview of the NCAA insurance policies available to its student athlete. Imagine you are a junior Division 1 student athlete who plays quarterback for the University of Nebraska. You are not a typical student athlete, but instead you are an exceptional football player. You just won the Heisman Trophy and the national championship, bringing glory back to the long-depressed Nebraska football fan base. Most experts and scouts have predicted that you will be the number one picking in the upcoming National Football League (NFL) draft. If drafted number, you can expect to make $35 million, including a guaranteed signing bonus of $23 million. Not only are you a fantastic athlete, but you also have a 4.0 grade point average and dream of becoming an orthopedic surgeon. You have a choice to make. Do you enter the NFL draft because you have completed the 3 years as required by the NFL, or do you play one more year in college finishing your degree? The choice may seem simple to many. However, you will receive pressure from multiple places trying to convince you to stay in college for one more year, including your coach and the entire Nebraska football fan base. You decide to play one more season. The following year, you suffer a catastrophic injury while playing in the first game of the season, a torn anterior cruciate ligament. In the upcoming draft, you are not drafted number one overall. Instead, you are drafted fifth, losing out a little over $6 million. This is not a unique story. There are many examples of student athletes going through this awful experience. For instance, in 2008, Dante Love, a Ball State wide receiver, was projected to be a high first-round pick. Unfortunately, he suffered a severe spinal cord injury. He was able to recover and now lives a normal life, but he never played football again. Most recently, in 2019, Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, the projected number one pick of the NFL draft, suffered a dislocated hip and posterior wall fracture. Tagovailoa recovered from his injury and was drafted fifth in the 2020 NFL Draft, resulting in a loss of approximately $10 million. These are just a few stories of injuries harming student athletes' professional careers. To insulate themselves from this risk, exceptional student athletes do as many other people do and get insurance to shift the risk away from them. The NCAA requires that every student athlete have health insurance if they want to take part in any activity related to the sport they participate in. This is the only insurance that is required by the NCAA for student athletes. Fortunately, the NCAA does supply every athlete with catastrophic injury coverage, but the policy doesn't come into effect until the cost of the injury exceeds $90,000. The NCAA also over-insured to a select few athletes. This policy is known as the Exceptional Student Athlete Disability Insurance Program. Even with all these different insurance, elite student athletes still fear that they are not protected enough and have started to acquire a unique form of insurance known as loss of value insurance. Each of these insurance provides some form of protection for the student athlete. However, none of them protect the student athlete adequately. Part 2 of this article will examine the required health insurance. Part 3 will examine the disability insurance program offered by the NCAA, including its catastrophic injury program and the ESDI program. The NCAA requires all its member institutions and their athletes have some form of accidental injury insurance coverage. This requirement has the effect of shielding the NCAA from any liability for common student athlete injuries. The accidental injury insurance comes in the form of health insurance. Health insurance serves to provide the insured with coverage for financial loss from illnesses caused by specific disease and sometimes to specify specified disease that are not covered. Luckily, for student athletes, their access to health insurance is much greater now than it was in the past. Until 2005, student athlete has limited option to cover the expense of an injury incurred from playing a sport. Mainly, student athletes might have had their own health insurance or their parent health insurance policies could have covered them. Thank you.